first game. Take me back to you. Shake the ground. Oh, this lightness, it will fill the air around.
Qualifier, as we've started things off already in a relatively quick series of events between FPX and IG. My name is Munchballs. I'll be hosting the analyst desk for you guys. And I'm joined by, on my left, who I thought was the Daggertron. I thought he was a robot sent from the future to analyze League of Legends. But he predicted a 3-0 for IG, so maybe I've been mistaken.
Look, what can I say? IG in the drafts, all right? I don't know what you want from me. IG going for this draft that spikes in the mid-game, needs to snowball, and then they don't draft any engage.
So then I have to ask you, because IG chose red side here in a tournament that has been dominated by blue side picks. IG opted into the red side. They're going to be opting into the red side for the next game as well. But we got to see things like Rookie on Nico. There were some picks in here that I was excited to see, but it didn't seem to work at all in the game.
And that's the thing. It feels like if they were actually on blue side, maybe a draft like this could have worked because you can get that early Ashe pick. And it felt like that was kind of the crux of the problems, was not really having that guaranteed engage to it. Because when you look at the way they needed to set things up, it was like a Bramble Barb coming through from the Nico, some hook from Nautilus. Like, you kind of needed these definitive skill shots to flash forward and hit. But you can't really do that. And FPX did a great job of, in that early stage of the game, just avoiding any of these objectives where they not need to fight.
That's the key thing that I want to talk about now, is the fact that FPX playing a very reserved game of League of Legends here. Happy to forego the first two dragons. They had the Galio in the mid lane, they had the Camille in the top lane, this 1-2 combo that we talk about regularly, but we didn't see Do&B just roaming constantly trying to find picks in the early game. They were happy to just play this one slow, allow the first two dragons over, and then we got that fight around Dragon Pit for the third Drake. That was a whitewash in favor of FPX.
Yeah, FPX did a fantastic job of setting up the early game, so when he got to that third dragon, they were in the lead. As we talked about, not going for the first two meant that they could funnel all these resources into Gimgoon, and then when they had this combo, as you see in your screens just here, with Gimgoon going in aggressively, setting up for Do&B with the follow-up on this Galio, the 1-2 punch was so difficult for IG to deal with. And even when they have a composition that does great when they're engaged on, there was so many moving parts from FPX with so many ways of avoiding that FPX were just able to run over them in this team fight.
Yeah, this fight was just beautiful. Obviously, Baolan stepping a little too far forward, but the second that he did, FPX were ready and waiting to pounce on top of IG. And from that point on, it didn't feel like IG had a shoe-in for the rest of the game. The way that FPX were playing around Barons as well was just beautiful to see.
Well, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you're losing top lane matchup with this Camille who's going to hyperscale into the late game. You've got a double AD carry in that Tien going on towards this Kindred alongside Puff on this Ashe. And so eventually you just end up outscaling in raw damage. So even if FPX get to a point where, okay, well, we're fighting 5v5 against IG, they've just massively outscaled them.
And I have to say, when we talk about that top lane matchup, Gimgoon, he's going to be our MVP for game number 1, and this is not the standard pick for Gimgoon. This is not what you think of when you think of Gimgoon. You think of the cool style shades on the right of your screen there, but most importantly, this is a guy that's meant to be the weak side top laner, but he's playing a carry.
And I'm curious about this now, because against LGD, we saw one game of Jax from Gimgoon, and maybe this is FPX going, hang on a second, we can actually put these resources into Gimgoon, and Gimgoon's a really good top laner, so we can actually get this snowball going. This was the initial gank that we saw towards that Camille on the top side that got the ball rolling for Gimgoon, and from that point forward, TPing in faster than the Shy had, actually getting in towards these fights. We talked about setting up beautifully for that combo with Do&B. It just was non-stop aggression from Gimgoon, and it feels like now FPX, they have evolved, even though we didn't expect them to really go in this direction.
And I feel like with this Camille in the top lane and with the Galio in the mid lane, feels like I'm watching LGD when they're playing well, right? This combo we've seen a lot of in the LPL, and moving into the next draft, you have to assume that IG are going to change things up. They are still going to be on the red side here, but maybe banning the Galio, maybe you have to ban the Camille. I don't know how you approach this.
Personally, I think you ban the Galio. I think that the way... So, obviously, Camille has been super strong when we've either had the Twisted Fate or the Galio to work with her. It's just about setting her up in that early game so she can start to get that ball rolling. However, I think the bigger issue is just how Doomby works on these sorts of champions. We could see he was the big facilitator in that third Dragon fight that actually set up those plays. He's super strong in these champs, so getting him onto something that's much more lane focused I think will work a lot better, and then you avoid the opportunity for Game2 if they end up giving more help towards him, that Doomby is able to easily get towards that lane.
And it has to be said as well, we're talking about this top lane, we're talking about the fact that the Shy, he went 0-4. We said that there's a very real risk that the Shy is, sometimes he'll carry the game, sometimes he's just going to go 0-4 in the top lane. We saw that one kill coming out from Game2 where Doomby goes for the ult to try to help out. He's not even needed. Game2 just annihilates the Shy, and at that point in the game it was like, okay, well, this is over. What can the Shy do to get back? Like, he needs to change strategy.
And remember what we were talking about. The way that IG set up to enable the Shy was unlocking Baolan in that bottom lane. Going towards this pick like the Senna and giving over the Ashe meant you had permanent push power on the bottom side of the map for FPX. You can't get Baolan out, which means the duo of Baolan and Ning never got up, never managed to help out the Shy, and that's where we start to see these problems come in, and why the Shy has a 25% first blood goes against the Shy 25% of the time when he's left on his own.
And we saw exactly that in this game, and let's take a moment to talk about these junglers as well, because coming in we said both these guys big Lee Sin players, both these guys world's MVPs as well, but Tian coming out here with the Kindred, and in terms of Smite game alone, coming out way ahead, managed to get the mark on the chickens when we had the contest early on, managed to get that Infernal Drake that we saw the whole fight kick off afterwards, had pretty much 100% objective control when he was contesting an objective.
And that's because he had so much safety there. I mean, if you go in towards these objectives, right, I got the Lamb's Respite, so I don't have to worry about me going down too quickly, and then I've still got Doomby who can come in on top of me, I've got Game2 who can follow in as well. Like, there was a lot of moving parts here, and even Lanterns to safety, like, he always knew that he'd have the team's back coming towards him, so at least having that opportunity to go a bit more aggressive worked out wonders for him. But the bigger issue here for me was looking at IG. Their playstyle won out. Like, we talked about being them individual performers, winning out in lane. Rookie had a 20 CS lead by the 8-minute mark. Like, it didn't matter though, because when we got towards the way you play the map, that's where FPX were smarter, and that's where now IG coming out into the draft for game number 2 need to figure out how to play against that.
That'll be the big question, because FPX feel like a little bit of a different team, and obviously it's the same players, and to some extent we're seeing similar picks to what we've seen in the past, but this was a very cool, calm, calculated version of FPX that we're seeing step onto the stage once again. When I thought of FPX, I think of chaos, I think of fun, I think of exciting games, but this was very controlled League of Legends style.
And it gave opportunities for FPX to play both that pick style that we were talking about, where you can go for the Galio and that Camille combo to pick people off at the start, but also a very potent team fighting composition as well, where they could actually go towards these objectives. So I'm excited to see as we go in towards this, if we see a similar style of draft from FPX, where they've got several win conditions that can come through, and especially if IG are going to draft these one-dimensional team comps, this mid-game focus that doesn't have a lot of engage or a lot of ways to press that advantage, FPX just feels like they could just run over and draft once again.
And I have to say, with the Rookie on this Nico, didn't really work out for him. Nico is this kind of champion that when the situation is right, it's best champion in the game. Rookie has shown that multiple times, but didn't happen in this one. I'm curious if he's going to stick to his guns on that one, or if he's going to change tack moving into game number 2. But also IG as a whole, let's just take something into account here. This isn't the first time that the draft in game 1 of a series hasn't been perfect and hasn't necessarily been the optimum way to play League of Legends.
Yeah, we saw throughout the summer split that IG was one of the teams who most of the time would be going towards a game 3, even though they were in our top 3, because game 1 was always a little bit screwy, then they'd fix the draft coming into game number 2. However, we'll have to see if they are going to go towards this, because it felt like they still wanted to go towards this draft because, hey, look, as long as FPX engage onto us, we're fine. But FPX never made that mistake. They scaled into a position where they were stronger at this third Dragon fight, and then they were able to go against IG. So still on IG's point of view, you can't just go for these very one-dimensional picks, which is something that we have actually seen from IG, not only in a Game 1 scenario, but in a couple of games where they're forced to rely on individual skill to overcome draft issues.
And it has to be said that when we look at the way that this first game has gone, IG, sure, we can give them the benefit of the doubt. We could say, you know, sometimes they mess about a little bit in game number 1. This is the regional qualifiers. They are 2 losses away now of not making it to the World Championship. This is not the kind of series you can afford to mess about in. And FPX, they're more than happy to snap up a win if you're not performing.
Yeah, exactly. And now you do end up in this weird scenario where if you know, one game doesn't go your way, even if you should, in theory, from a draft perspective, win that game, some games just gotta get away from you. Early invades can happen. Something can go a bit amiss. And that's when you start to really worry for IG, and especially against a team the caliber of FPX, who have definitely been training hard over the last 2 weeks with the performance they just put on. This is where we start to go, hang on a second, what else has FPX cooked up in their time off?
And my next question to you, Dagda, is as we move on towards this next draft, what are you expecting to see changed here from IG? Are we still going to see things like this Nico, or do they have to go more standard to what you'd expect in the current meta?
I think I'd prefer to move them back towards a little bit more, well, current meta, yes, but just opting in towards something that has a little bit more engage. If you want to go towards some kind of composition like this, I think a Jhin could have worked a lot better than the Senate, that long-range engage that maybe gives you a hope of playing through these solo lanes.
Perhaps a little bit more utility in the bottom lane then. We'll have to wait and see. They are going to be on the red side, but we're going to head over to our casters as we get ready to jump into Champ Select for game number 2.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We're going into game 2. So this is Lyric, I'm Hysterics. We have matched because, well, kind of.
Not really.
Because we want to run into this one with goals aligned, right? We want to see better draft from IG, and we want to see FPX continue with this play because at the very least for FPX, you know, being the former world champions in 2019, this level of play is a confidence booster at the very least as we get into draft. Remember, IG picked red side once again, so we have to see what they have up their sleeve running into this.
And so far, bans have stayed the same. If IG do change a ban, I would expect it to be the third one. In the previous game, it was the Lilia.
Yep.
Could go towards that Galio this time that Dagda and Munchables were talking about.
Yeah, another target ban mid, but no. Retain the same ban, it means Tien doesn't get that champion again, so first pick Ashe, rinse and repeat.
I think if you're FPX, just go for it. Again, it secures you that bot priority. It gives you engage. If those arrows are able to land this time around, but he did quite a good job, you know, laying down the DPS in those fights when he needed.
Almost choked on my water. Thank you for that. This time around, it is the Graves first pick. But remember, IG in game 1, it was Baolan's Nautilus to try and deny Crisp as well. But no, Senna once again.
Yeah, so changing up the order. Last time they did blind pick that Nautilus in this rotation, but still having confidence in this setup, keeping Puff on the Senna, giving him more of a utility and supportive role, which I think has been where Puff has looked his best.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's either that or the Ashe, where it's been the utility to help IG. Specifically, same pick and ban here for FPX, though. Galio gets locked in, and why not?
Yeah, and I agree. And this draft has so many ways to play, as we point out in game 1, right? You have, even if you don't have priority in mid lane, usually you get counterpicked. You can move with your ultimate.
Yep.
The Kindred does scale up into quite a threat. She does quite well against burst. You have a ton of damage coming out now. And it even sets you up for having a AP top laner if you choose.
And IG just do the same thing again. Get Nico in this first phase means that the Nautilus is left wandering. So do IG ban away the support, or do FPX look to pick it up?
I'm curious because IG definitely need to index more into an engage heavy role because they have 2 very short range carries in the Graves and the Nico. Like, a way you could have played out against FPX's comp is trying to outrange it, right? Outranging the Galio, outranging the Kindred, but you've already opted not into that. So we need to see, once again, an engage support come out, whether it is something like the Nautilus or the Leona. The crucial thing, though, is I feel like you need some engage in top lane, unless you do want to play this lane dominant stuff from the Shy, where maybe you put him on an AD carry himself and then just play through those Dawning Shadows. But even then, it feels like you have too much AD. I feel like IG have boxed themselves in with this draft.
Once again, right, you know, IG want their comfort picks, their strict line, instead of veering out. And you've got a support top lane ban, you've got a Quinn ban,
and see,
so...
Warhorse realizes as well, because you can't imagine the Shy going on to something like an Ornn to give them that engage and play through team fights. You imagine it's the Senna setting up for a top lane carry, and you just banned out the 2 top lane carries. Also, it opens up FPX for a potential Renekton pick.
But to IG, because we talked about the Shy not picking up Renekton before.
He's played it 1 game this split.
And you wouldn't expect him to take it up now. Instead, a counterpick potential for the top laner. While they deny Crisp of the Nautilus, but what we saw in game 1 was that it wasn't really a denial. Chris got the Thresh, looked great.
And I still feel like he can just even go towards something like a Leona, which is obviously picked into Nautilus almost every game here in the LPL. You're much tankier than Nautilus, so it's kind of awkward when he hooks you. You do quite well in the all-in. And there's the Renekton that we talked about as well. You banned out the counters.
Yep.
We do need to remember, though, the Shy does play both Kennen and Gnar. Both do have abilities to play into that Renekton.
And he also plays GP, but it's been a little bit more rarer than something like the Gnar. I like that you explore these champions here, Lyric, because he does have a wide champion pool we've talked about, but the Shy in Game 1 was atrocious. Game 2, a fresh slate. The Gnar comes through. Not picked that much in the LPL, but the Shy is one of the unique players that still pulls this out.
Yeah, and so their comp now has a bit more engaged if you include the Mega Gnar, but it's going to play around much smaller windows for them to go in. And I feel like FPX's comp still answers that quite well. You still have the sustain and the durability coming in from the Galio, from the Kindred. You're able to all in. You're going to have pressure in the bot side once again. And this time, Renekton against Gnar is always a matchup that works like this, that sure, in the isolated 1v1, Gnar can win out because he has the range, the hop to get away from the slice and dice. But Renekton thrives in 2v2s and 3v3s. He wants these skirmishes. He has all that AoE damage, and even his dominance doing quite well. And Dwinby does not need to have priority lane. He just needs to hit that level 6
It does
mark.
feel like FPX have kind of, gone back to what worked in Game 1. They didn't have to change or move anything because they were the team that won, but also because the draft was just so stable. Now, the Gnar changes things, Lyric, but still in a corner? Like, what do you think?
I would say the Gnar and the Renekton change a bit because now FPX don't have that for sure. We outscale IG and have numerous ways to play out this game. It is pretty stock and standard, and they want to team fight this game. They want to have these 5v5s later on. And you can rely on this Gnar scaling up and being able to outside lane against the Renekton.
Okay.
So IG will have an avenue to play out in the later stages of the game.
I'll be looking at that build path for the Shy as well, something we can talk about a little bit in game as we look at the rune too. But ladies and gentlemen, I didn't get to hype you up in Game 1. I'm sorry about that. We ran so quick into pick ban and then into game itself. But I'll leave this with you. 2018 World Champs versus 2019 World Champs. Fighting for 4th seed, and this is even the matchup to get the 4th seed. They need to win this best of 5 to then verse LGD for that spot at Worlds. This is the elimination match. It's FPX and IG Game 2 with drafts that are completely different running in once again to the ring. Do you want a Jayo?
Okay. IG.
Jayo! Well, nothing cringier than that, is there?
You know, I love hearing the LCK guys do their cheers.
Oh, yeah.
They do them quite well.
Yeah. A lot of
To
flavor.
be fair, they've also been there way longer than us, so
Yeah.
you know, maybe next year my Giles will be insane.
True. They're boomers, aren't they? What are we? We're Zoomers. But we're not like weird champ level
Hey,
of Zoomer yet. But
Colonel, though,
Okay.
agrees with my statements in draft
So-
that, hey, IG do fare better later on. But again, their draft is much harder to execute, in my opinion.
Yeah. You mentioned as well how the team fighting goes, though. That's something I'll look towards because with the Gnar, with the Nico, there's good synergies in the solo lane. But the problem is quality performance in this early game. It's not what we saw out of Invictus Gaming, but we did see some really good early game pathing from Tien and also out of Game2.
Also, I'm interested in the level 1 wards we see coming out from IG, and if
Hang
we'll
on.
see...
Sorry.
If we'll see Tien try and take a creative path around them, I realistically don't think there's a way. There is a way because a rookie got a very nice ward into the ramp into red side as well. So the Shy should be pretty safe in the top lane for a cheeky level 3 gank this time
Yeah.
around.
Right in the way is bottom lane level 1 still. Now, we saw this in game number 1. Huff and Baolan didn't win it out because it's an Ashe. Baolan's been ignited down. You saw this in the first game. Please learn.
And you've seen this specific matchup 1,000 times of Leona against Nautilus, where this is always what happens. Nautilus, goes for the dredge line. He procs his Aftershock, walks away, and Leona's like, okay, well, your Aftershock's down. Now IE, and now we completely outtrade you.
Now, the difference is the trade of summoners this time around is beneficial for IG, and there is sustain on Puff.
Yeah, you're right. So
LWX
FPX blowing those summoners actually is very massive.
So I'll pull back a little bit there. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. But still, level 2 hit burst by LWX and Crisp in this bottom lane.
Even this time, I don't expect Ning to look for a bot lane gank. That's not what you typically see when you are running a Senna. She is much more of a weak side player. But with Crisp going on a Leona, which is very hard committal as compared to a Thresh, you at least potentially could set up opportunities where, we see FPX's bot lane is going to push in. you have Ning come around, blast cone over, dredge line, set up that 3v2.
True, because that's the way the clear's set up with now finishing topside, the ability to back or, sorry, scuttle while Tien's on the bottom side. Chris roaming at level 2. And moving with Tien, this is what we see when FPX are really on form, when that bottom lane does get an advantage. You can see LWX backed at level 2 himself, picked up Cole, and Chris used that window to then rotate to mid, but Rookie does not overpush.
I really like FPX's overall general strategy as well, where we saw them struggle a lot with being able to secure that prio through the bot lane this split. And again, last year was all about setting up with those bot lane dives. They've readjusted. They found a pick that can once again continue to get them that priority in the bot lane in the Ashe. And they've adjusted their style to once again playing around Tien rather than playing around their specific laners.
Yeah, because for Tien, you know that he's a jungler in 2019 who was really leading this team, and it's nice to see him in a similar position, although in a very different meta. At the very least, in Game 1, Tien set up Game2 to succeed. Now, this time around, he's just been going through and clearing. Hasn't been able to find an angle into the lane pre-5 minutes.
It was down to nice warding from the side of IG. I also like Nick's path to where he did end up topside around the time you could expect a Kindred gank coming out. So both teams readjusted so far, and it did result in this, much slower early game.
So speaking of, while we are just watching this lane state happen, can we just go over once again and talk to me a little bit about how this early to mid game progresses with the difference in top laners and with the change in dynamic of draft?
For me now, it's really about FPX, especially at that level 6 mark, trying to make a big impact in the top side of the map. I want to see them, especially once again, trying to funnel that gold, get those Rift Heralds down. They do have options, just like last game, where you have engage and set up on both sides of the map. So it could work out in, okay, we're going to play for this first Drake early on because we have the Ashe. Then we're going to go towards the top side. We have the Renekton with the pressure, take the Herald, and kind of play that game of rotating back and forth to push and pull.
Clean rotations, also using Galio to constantly add pressure. Exactly. I like that. IG, though, you did mention a scaling element, of course, here with the Gnar being able to outpush the Renekton as we get towards those 3+ items.
Yeah, IG have the luxury of taking this one a bit slower because you still have the Senna, still a bit of a late game monster.
Hey, that's Predator. Flash burn. This is kind of the play we've seen with Predator and Shield of Durand. Might actually set up for this first dragon. Sorry to interrupt.
And great roam coming from Chris, right? Because this looks like the big difference this time around from what we've been seeing of FPX recently is we haven't been able to see Chris be unlocked from lane to influence the map. But in these first 2 games, in the first 5 minutes, Chris has been absolutely clutch.
Yeah. I think Chris seeing some of his 2019 form here as well, importantly enough. When you're talking about the past history of teams being stronger than their current form is great. But the Shy's now hit level 6. He has Flash. Mega about to expire. Puts him into Ning, who's now on the top side smoke screen for the slow. Give good flashes. Is it too late? I wouldn't say so. It's a nice escape, but Ning is sticking around.
Yeah, and I feel like he's just pushing this wave in. You don't have the setup.
Yep.
You definitely would have needed to Gnar ult, give going into a wall to get that stun off and potentially get the burst, but I don't think Ning needs to look for this gank. I really feel like it's just about shadowing, scaling up. If you are looking for plays, it's a lot more about, like last game, playing through that mid lane prio and trying to just guarantee more farm for Ning. But you could see his jungle was completely cleared out, so he had nowhere on the map he needed to be anyway. Even if he had gone bot side, I don't feel like IG are at a place right now where they can contest a Drake. So looking for that opportunity top is nice, and they at least did get Game2's flash.
We will just talk about Tien, though, because while you talk about the Dragon, it is important to note that the mark was on that bottom side scuttle. So for Tien, I believe, we're either 1 or 2. We haven't had a close enough look, so we'll update you when that comes across.
We do have awesome observers, so I'm sure we will get it pretty soon.
We saw in Game 1, Tien got his early 4 mark. So he got that range advantage, so he got so much attack speed on the Dance of Arrows. And that's what really set him up for these fights and set him up for a great advantage, plus his awesome ultis. Lamb's fight now available, by the way, too. And the level 6 mark, well and truly hit for FPX. You talked about Doomby being able to influence some of these side lanes.
Now I'm curious how we'll see it go, because we saw FPX get the earlier recall in bot lane, but they're heading directly back to lane. IG are now getting the recall and is at 730 mark, so Rift Herald is going to come up.
And this would align perfectly. The Shy going into Mega shortly as Justice Punch used to close the gap, but maybe that adds pressure knowing that Doomby is in this fog of war.
Yep, nice respect coming out from the Shy. It would be quite hard to close that distance and lock him down. Even Gideon having no flash, doesn't want to be in a bad position. Valorant is making his way down mid, so they do have a bit more pressure on the top half, where Puff is heading back down bot, but we see LWX and Chris both roaming now for that Rift Herald play that we mentioned earlier.
After pushing out that wave, Balan, however, Fog of War is where he's skirting around right now, waiting for Chris to walk on in for the auto attack. But Doomby's here first. Shielded Duran is going to get both and the clone in. Chanacross Arrow hits the clone. LWX was baited in as a little bit of pop here with the Starburst. And Rookie will maintain his health bar.
That was a nice taunt coming out from Doomby, though.
Yep.
He got all 3 men, but as you pointed out, the clone tanking that arrow was quite nice from Rookie. It does lead to this double objective play that we mentioned of Dragon straight into Herald. And Puff just going to be on the bot side pushing the wave. Maybe could get one plate, but he is a Senna. You don't have the fastest pushing power.
So you'll do a little bit of damage. While Herald goes down in the Shy without the Mega Gnar available, we'll have to let FPX walk out. And once again, objective control. FPX in this early game looking pretty good. Stops the back. That auto attack, that boomerang's going to fly and hit Chris.
I was scared because it's a Shy, so he's about to get Mega. I thought he was going to jump in and look for the ultimate. He also has Balan on top side, but showing a bit of restraint.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Balan has not backed away, and Tien is about to find a big Anchorman. And you've seen big daddies in, well, I'm going to pause on that. Tien's going to flash away. Here comes the Hero's Entrance. I forgot what the game was. It's called Bioshock Lyric. Thank you for the helpers. The Shielded Duran comes through in the end. Tien flashes over the wall with Lance despite Ning is matching. Going to get the health advantage, but the collateral damage for first blood at 9 minutes into the game as the all-engage from Baolan is there. Flash Shielded Duran. Ning still has her health bar, though. A good Justice Punch, but the Winds of War is not enough, and Ning can just keep ordering this away. The passive through, Chris for the re-engage, but Ning heals it up, and IG out-tempo FPX.
Great play coming in from IG overall. We saw Balan being there looking for that initial hook onto Tien, set up for all the kills to follow. It is pretty sad that his dredge line doomed him and he'd immediately flash out. He actually tanked a turret shot, and that's really what led to him being able to go down to FPX.
And Rookie even getting a bit of turret blighting. At the end of the day, IG now with a gold lead off the back of it. And Ning in game 1 was farming so well, was kind of limited, as we're talking about in the break, by the draft. This time around, he's going to be such a menace.
A nice hook coming out from Baolan. We see Tien flashing away, but Doonby maybe a bit too quick on that ulti coming out to try to save his friend. Nice flash coming in from Ning. It does show his good summer form overall. He's been performing quite well. There's the sad dredge line from Baolan, which does ultimately doom him. But still, Rookie and Ning do still have the damage to go forward. Ning actually level 7 and now just stuck against Chris. Chris only level 5, doesn't actually provide all that much. Does have the Triumph coming out to also get the bit of health at the end.
Time to reiterate my point, huh? Ning and Rookie. In game 1, I mentioned just Rookie, but Ning has had a great overall summer split.
Me and you talked about it during break. Ning didn't get a chance to play game 1 with how the draft panned out.
And he was ahead of Tien despite the massive advantage FPX pulled out. Now with Herald down the bottom lane, FPX are trying to net a bit more gold in the back pocket. Did that gold go over?
Yep. Tien was able to get that gold on himself. Would have been close if Balan could have been able to find a hook with 4 members towards spot side, and Doonby actually didn't have TP or the ultimate, so it would have been a numbers advantage for the side of IG, but
Gimgoon actually hyper.
Doonby, though, is almost here.
The Shy doesn't have a Mega Gnar buff on cooldown.
And Gimgoon is Dominus.
So ult's going to be popped. The teleport immediately. Shielded Duran, though. Justice Punch. He's just dead. Nice Dominus to be used as Rookie comes on in. Pop Blossom is going to lay it down. Wants to kill Gimgoon. With the star blows, he does. And now for Doomby, the runaway commences. Tangle Barbs being waited for and get a bit of movement speed with the clone out. Jumps in front of the Justice Punch. Nicely done. As Rookie really is the saving grace either way. But the Shielded Duran may have caught him. Tangle Barbs land. And Tien getting layered down could have been exactly that.
That was so clutch from Rookie because he honestly would have probably been dead from having gotten taunted. But still, like you said, both Tangle Barbs do land. He does get out scot-free. It's a 1-for-1 in the end. Going all the way back, it was a really clean CC chain coming out from the side of FPX to lock down the Shy. But Rookie with the fast reaction time equalizing that trade.
Again, Rookie to be talked about, 2-0 and 2. While in the top side, Gimgoon was the one to pick up the kill on this Renekton, who is very close to his Black Cleaver. I also want to mention that for Rookie, maintaining that CS lead like we saw in the Game 1 matchup. Doomby's about much more than that. The first item picked up for Rookie in the meantime.
Now we do see just both teams resetting. Of course, the Shy did go mid to catch that wave to make sure he didn't really fall behind himself. He's now going to make his way back up top side, and lane's going to default to normal.
Dredgeline connects. Balan wants to go in, but this time around, I think this is fantastic. Depth charge pulls him up. Shield and Duran as the ult from Tien may have saved the day. Then Chenekrus over the Pop Blossom. Layers down, cancels Doing B's ultimate, and Rookie is not even that. The Tangle Barbs onto 2. Tien, though, gets hit with a wide shot. The Q from Rookie. It's a double kill as Chris gets the attention of Ning, and Puff kills LWX. This mid laner and jungle are on fire.
This is exactly what IG need to win this game. Like you're saying, 2018 form coming in from Ning, and Rookie has looked this good his whole damn career. So nice to see them showing up. 4-0-4 on Nico. But once you add the nameplate to that on Rookie, that's so scary for FPX.
Oh, it is. 2 bits of turret plating going to be taken alongside it. Watch the gold fly over, and he just picked up his first item. Expect a core component of the next coming up now.
And we are going to see, if Dredgeline's up for Balan, he will throw it out
and
no
this
matter
time it
what.
was great.
This time it was great, right? Ask questions later, do it now. I like that. Tien's ultimate comes out. LWX with a nice enchanted crystal arrow to kind of keep Ning down, but it didn't matter. Rookie was here. Balan taking up all that damage to pick up that first kill. Tien then goes down on the back half of that, and then they just get to keep going forward. I also like how they divide their attention. Nice flash W coming in from Puff to lock down LWX, and then Ning's 1v1ing a Leona. Another day in the office, like we said in Game 1.
Of course, he already got his advantages. We just look at Tien pick up a mark, but this time around, Ning has more of the resources. Ning is going to have a lot more damage with that Black Cleaver on the way. And IG with a very serious gold lead. This is what happens with IG games. The audience will know that when IG get a lead, it blows out of control no matter what the draft is.
The thing I love to see is that we talked about drafts and how they work this game and how it was better for IG, but the pressure still came from the same area. It was still about your mid-jungle, as I pause, because
it is Mega Nard time. Ultimate to be burned. The Shy puts him into a wall. Gimgoon takes a bit of damage, but of course there's nothing else. It's Pop Blossom. We didn't see that. But
no, I wonder what happened because no one had to blow a flash.
Maybe he thought Chris was walking straight instead.
Maybe he went for Tien, and Tien maybe was able to Q away or something along those lines. But hey, let's not speculate because FPX is still posturing.
He gets the hose. Tangle Barbs comes in again. Chris gets the engage. There's no ulti for Rookie. Used it before he gets burnt down. Golden in the nick of time though, while Balan is getting bullied by the rest of FPX. It's a sandwich, and IG are the ingredients as Chris walking through. Target selection is crucial here. Zenith's Blade on the other side, while meanwhile Ning is the one getting bullied this time around. It's a double kill over to LWX, and IG need not be here no more as Tien walks up through the river. And as bad as my English is, I think as good as this play will be for FPX. The Shy going into Mega, doesn't have ulti. The ulti from Tien, though, with the Lamb's Respite may have done enough as the Shy with the lockdown gets the kill, flashes away, but he's dead. And FPX matching pound for pound.
Cheeky pick from the Shy, but overall, it's like you said, FPX sandwiching IG behind FPX's turret. So IG had nowhere that they could go. Ended up picking up a massive gold swing as well. But Rookie being able to answer in the mid lane does still keep it at about 2K.
I think Rookie just ignored the fight and said, whatever happens here, I don't care.
He was there, he's just like, yeah, I'm just done with this.
I'm going to piece it out, and picks up his second item. So we'll have a look, because this was an extended trade.
Once again, Balan with a bit of an unfortunate dredge line. Then has to flash out. IG in enemy territory. They do get sandwiched. It is a 5v4 at this time, and everyone's quite low. We look at Rookie down at 20% HP. Ning gets taken down. Now we actually look at Rookie on the minimap. He ended up behind FPX.
Yeah.
That's how he got away. The Shy about to turn Mega, but once again, they're in enemy territory. They're behind enemy lines. But let's ignore that because IG are starting up Dragon.
But Lamb's Respite's not available, so if FPX want to start this fight, a key ultimate that's been saving them. But Enchanted Crystal Arrow is there as the Dragon goes in. It's a steal once again from Tien. No ulti available as the engage from Doomy is set up. Pop Blossom coming down, though, onto the solo lane as well. Puff tried to heal up his mid. Rookie's low, running away the hose. Gets it until Gimgoon flashes. And there's no root from Puff. FPX do it all again.
The only sad thing for FPX is that there's no Baron up this time like there was last game. But Doinby, once again, finding a great taunt, picking up kills on 3 members of IG. It was sad because the Shy timed his Mega so perfectly to coincide with the start of that fight, but Ning and Rookie got bursted out instantly.
And this time around, we're getting our game that we wanted. And even though IG, you know, it's back and forth in the IG way, we've got 20 kills in 18 minutes.
I mean, this is an IG game, right?
There we go.
Even if they are slightly behind at this point, Still, they have a bit of fight to them. Their draft still does have ways to play out. We talked about later on in the game being able to play through that side lane. You'll consistently have the Senna ultimate to rely on. Puff will get stronger and stronger. The thing that's still worrisome goes back to game 1 that we said, hey, FPX's comp does do quite a good job of surviving that initial burst, and they just have so much lockdown. Leona, Ashe, and Galio, we do get to his pro view.
Do you notice every time we get his pro view, you can see the death time, sorry, the flash summoner time is getting spammed as well.
I mean, it's classic Doinby, but still, I also want to highlight Chris. He's one that found that initial engage coming out. Game2 also in the back line as well. It all set up for that massive ultimate and then taunt coming out from Doinby.
His Galio 2, 2, and 7 now, almost 2 items himself as well. Actually has a bit of gold in comparison, but you can see all the way in the bottom of the board. Nowhere near Rookie. Right now, Tien trying to set up for the top side once again. We've got Baron coming up in a minute 15. That next dragon unheard of at the moment, as Tien moving into Fog of War.
Let's not forget that Ning does still have the Rift Herald. It's actually about to time out, so it looks like that grouping up mid and are going to have to drop that one. It's no tier 1.
Yeah. But IG grouped up here. FPX are going to have to sandwich or at least get here fast because IG have a lot of momentum with this.
They at least secure the turrets. I like that they're already wrapping around top side.
As teleport's coming in, we've got a fight on our hands. Meganar is available. No flash, though, as the engage is in with the Zenith Blade. The Shy in Mega doesn't get his ult off before he dies. And Puff's ult can't save him. The Shy going down once more.
Great CC chain coming out from the side of FPX, right? We see Chris go in, goes right into the Enchanted Crystal Arrow from LWX. And like you said, the Shy never even gets a chance to use that ultimate.
And Tien just steals away a mark. Nicely done. That's mark number 7. Holy moly. Tien has a lot of attack speed this game.
This is also interesting because it goes back to... I'm going to slow down.
Yes, we are. The Flash Tangle Barbs. Oh, it's a little bit short. The Blooming Burst. The lockdown will follow its mark. And LWX eventually dies. IG just went forward.
The GLP securing that route coming in from Puff. Sure, they did dedicate 2 flashes, but they still get that kill. The Baron's up. It would be a bit cheeky. Thank God. I thought they would.
I thought Ning was going to run in there as well. You never know with Invictus Gaming.
You know, an interesting thing about the Kindred pick, going back to Tien, is that me and you were talking about this yesterday about how typically teams in situations like this will default to one scrim partner when there aren't many teams to scrim. And I was speculating with you that my guess would be IG and okay, I'm going to stop.
You're not going to get a chance. I'm sorry, Lyric. Puff is just dead here. And FPX keep finding these picks using Doinby.
Yeah, great job from him coming in. They picked that up. They should be able to get this mid lane turret. Rookie does still have ultimate, but doesn't mean too much. The Shy's not here. The other members still having to react, and FPX having man advantage.
IG getting caught out moment after moment. And first it was the Shy, now Puff. FPX might have set up this turret. In fact, Enchanted Crystal Arrow means the engage is coming through. Chris flashes forward with the Zenith Blade. Here's the hero's entrance. Solar Flare to follow the pursuit. But FPX maybe even too far forward until Rookie's Pop Blossom comes on in, only onto one target. He's been kited away. Doinby gets low with the Lamb's Respite layer down. Doesn't save his life thanks to the Dredge line. And forward IG go with the Meganar. Blocked by Chris. Is it enough? No, IG's health bars getting shrunk down by this fed Kindred. And Tien happy with that. FPX win another one.
Chris blocking that ultimate. I don't think LWX would have actually gotten hit anyway. The Shy just trying to make that play happen. Realizes, hey, this is the only window we have. I'm going to look for this now. But hey, Rookie's TPing.
Okay. Is he going to find anything? No. Could be just for Dragon in 15 seconds.
He did use his Twin Shadows.
All right.
So it looks like he's just trying to spot them out, guarantee that scuttle.
Stop Gimgun's back. Gimgun's sticking around. Puff's going to be walking in first. The route doesn't connect. Does actually a lot of damage with almost 3 items.
Doinby's not here. Doinby does not have the ultimate or the TP available.
And FPX are grouping up. They'll see the ward here. Tangle Barbs doesn't connect, and the Blooming Burst. He's not really bursting out much of anyone.
One thing I want to highlight is that neither AD carry has flash.
All right.
So both are prime targets. Sadly, Balan doesn't have that ultimate to single out LWX.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow is up and available, though, for LWX. Crucially, it's what started the last engage. That's not really Ning walking in, and Dragon's just given on over while Doinby sends himself up for the next engage. Shield Duran hasn't been pawned yet, but Baolan is on the flank and found out by FPX. The Justice Punch takes him down until Puff gets a bit of shielding, delays time. The Pop Blossom from Rookie onto 4 people, but no one else is there. If it came in earlier, maybe it's a different story.
And Rookie once again trying to make the hero play, but it doesn't matter. Nice engage coming out from Duinbi once again. Flashing forward to get onto the members of IG. They're able to lock them down long enough. They have the burst. They have all the damage available. They didn't even need to use all their tools.
Yeah.
Duinbi still has ultimate. Tien still has ultimate.
I mean, FPX are just playing this out so nicely. And Duinbi having another great game. LWX is pacing around these fights so well. They won't get the turret here, but FPX have the gold lead. And when we talked about their comp moving into mid-game, you know, really rolling with it. It's in a very good position now.
You know, actually, let's take a look at this fight once again. FPX getting on the objective. We see the quota belt going forward for Duinbi, actually. Then flashing back to secure the kill onto Baolan to start off with. They all run forward. Now they're in a choke point, so the other members don't feel safe enough to walk forward, as you pointed out, despite Rookie's Pop Blossom coming down. Game2 also doing a nice job of zoning to secure all those kills.
Lives in the end as well. There's the damage graph for you. Split across the board.
What's that saying? Like, FPX are playing chess while IG's playing checkers, but I feel like IG are just playing a completely different game. Go fish? Pai show?
Go fish sounds about right.
Connect 4?
Go fish, but they realize they have the card in their hand the whole time. This could be a slow, though, with the Tangle Barbs missing from Rookie. He's had some great plays in this game, but now might be some bad ones with Soulflare coming in, but Chris the target. He gets hit up by the Shy's ultimate, saved by Tien. These Lambs, respite, are doing so much. Chris survives. 5 versus 4, but IG want the re-engage with Duinbi Golden in the nick of time. Gimgoon now the frontline target. Better poke damage, though, as Gimgoon's burning down. The Shy does a lot of DPS as well. And IG turning a fight that looked pretty dire.
At this point, I feel like IG just need to turn towards the Baron. An underrated aspect of that fight was the double Glacial, being able to kite back Gimgoon when he did try to get back into that fight.
Oh, and Tien's walking into danger. Rookie not going to go for it, though. Baron getting started. TP used mid.
Rookie has ultimate.
Okay.
So that's something we need to keep our eye on. Puff as well. Puff also has both summoners up, so he should be quite safe if a fight does break out.
For that Rookie flash, everyone in the pit, the Shy into Mega. The pop blossom used early. Rookie heavy on the trigger while Tien runs on in. He flashes away, though. He doesn't have his Lambs, respite the Blooming Burst to get a bit of damage. A flash forward from Puff, who is now Giga fed as the Shy stops Duinbi. The shield of Duran not enough. Now it's back to Baron.
It's so great to see that we're seeing that end of regular split Puff once again, the one who did start to flash forward aggressively to look for these plays. The jungler is down, Duinbi is down. This is a free Baron for the side of IG.
Well, hang on. Teleport's being burned, at least with no jungler available, yes. But Gimgoon wants to fight.
The Shy's almost Mega. He has ultimate.
And that's not really Baolan, it's Rookie. He's trying to zone. Gimgoon TP'd in, but he won't do a damn thing.
He realized, we're about to have a Mega Gnar. Senna has ultimate. Everything is there for the side of IG. Sure, Gimgoon has Dominus, but I feel like you just would have been giving over extra kills to the side of IG. And this goes back to a discussion me and you had last game. FPX don't clearly lose out in the late game, so they can play for these safer windows, look for mistakes, and play to keep building up these dragons. We see the engage start here from LWX. Crisp also getting caught out on the opposite side of the fight. They all in on Baolan. He does end up going down, but they do have enough burst to keep going forward. Ooh, Zhonya's in the Tangle Barbs quite clean. There's the Glacial that we were talking about on Gimgoon.
True.
He tries to slice and dice in the backline, gets kited out. LWX left in a really awkward position. Gives IG the fight that ultimately leads to their Baron.
There's just so much slow. Running away from Invictus Gaming, they want you to come into them as Rookie finds Chris. Gimgoon's on the side, though, so there won't be any further commit. Note that Rookie has a Leandri's Torment as his third item. And we are getting towards those 3 items across the board, right? Tien there with the Renan's Hurricane on the Kindred jungle. You're even looking at the 80 carry matchup with the Rapid Fire Cannon for Puff. And LWX close to his third. As you see, the spike in gold has changed since Puff got those 3 kills and those massive shutdowns in the last 2 fights.
This would be Soul for the side of FPX. So they are prioritizing this one heavily. We are just seeing LWX and Crisp finally come back on the map now, so IG have full control of this objective.
And top side, I believe, slow pushing against FPX too. So maybe...
Oh, the Shy, almost Mega.
Has his flash available as well. As Rookie gets the turret in the meantime. Just a bit more gold in the back pocket. And there's going to be no FPX here for this Dragon.
IG did a great job of controlling space.
Yep. 10% in the back pocket. All right. We'll wait another 5 minutes to see what the next one yields, but IG grouping up with this Baron. They've got about a minute of the buff left.
Yep, and we're seeing them play out through 2 lanes with the Shy sitting mid. He can always easily rotate over. I would expect IG should have an easy time picking up this turret. 2NB is finally backing now. And when we see plays like this we always talk about for FPX, it's about them all inning on one side. You either commit to getting a pick on the Gnar or you commit to the 4-man with 5, and you need to try to win out in that small window.
Because right now for FPX, all 5 down in the bottom lane, so trying to clear this wave at the very least. Doomby reacting to the Shy through the mid lane.
The Shy, even with that frozen mallet, no one's going to be able to securely get on him in the 1v1, so he should be able to keep his distance kited out and just keep getting good damage onto this turret.
Plus the Warden's Mail in there too. LWX going to have a pretty hard time keeping that DPS up. Game2 angling.
IG playing a very slow with this Baron, which is nice to see, using those cannons to their advantage, juggling between their 2 lanes.
This has been a perfect Baron power play. Remember, IG like it like this at the moment. 4K gold lead and slowly chipping away at those inhibitor turrets. The Shy demands attention. He'll clear this wave instantly, even holds for it. Now, we'll see if that's the right move, if FPX force anything now. As, okay, Game2 goes in, Chad Crossout onto Puff, who just gets destroyed. Now, remember, the Shy is not even Mega, doesn't have his ulti, and you know what? They were playing slow until they overstayed.
That was all Game2 as well. Pops the Dominus, slice and dice, and flashes forward to get right on top of Puff. You were just questioning, if FPX engage. Nope, Game2 seeing that window, they realize that the Shy used Mega in mid lane, and they're going forward.
And now, what's up to take if they find a couple of picks, at least get control of their jungle again?
If they truly wanted to take something, they could just make their way towards mid and push that down.
Hang on, this is happening. Game2 already used his slice and dice away. He doesn't have flash. The Shy is auto-attacking to kill him. Goes golden, and that Mega Gnar is back up and available. The house almost takes him down. It was tax time as the Pop Blossom flies through the air, but just dead is Rookie. The Shy now with his ulti might try and send someone away, but the Shield of Duran is going to lock him down. And Tien does a lot of work here against this Gnar. The Shy will drop as well, and we have a bit of a bloody fiesta.
That was just greed coming out from the side of IG, hoping they could get that one onto Game2. We did see FPX trying to get control of bot side river. I'm pretty sure if IG weren't there, they would have just gone mid and pushed down that tier 2, which was already quite low. It does look like 2NB was able to get that by himself, and they picked up the kills as well.
All right. FPX getting a turret off the back of this. This has been a series so far, hasn't it?
Hey, we have a Magi's on 2NB.
Hey, there we go. What do you call that? Confidence or eagerness to win?
We call that learning from the best, as we see Game2 go in. Very decisive, gets right on top of Puff. Balan then trapped in the midst of FPX. And they did the correct play. They all in on one side. They realized, hey, the Shy just lost Mega. I didn't feel like his ultimate mattered in that situation, right? Because even if he had his ult up, he's not Mega. So great job to go in on that window as we see damage now. LWX doing a much better job this game.
Yeah.
I would also say it's because of the dynamic of how the game is played out, it has been way more team fight heavy than last game.
We've just seen a general performance increase as well, and Channa Cristaro are hitting a lot more as Rookie's going to spot out Doom, but he gets rid of the shield too, and Channa Cristaro angling for that said Nico. Gets a slow Doom.
Nice job praising him, Hysterics.
Thank you so much. As I think LWX was, you know, such a great AD carry in 2019. He is slowly returning to being one of the greats again, but I say slowly.
You know,
because
that would be the best arc. Sorry to interrupt you,
No, you're right.
but you made me realize, right, is they struggle all year with their identity crisis with Khan. They barely make it into playoffs, losing the first round to, the best team to ever be created in Victory 5.
That's true.
And then they run the gauntlet. Let's say this goes 3-2. They go 3-2 against LGD. They go to play-ins. They completely dismantle everyone in 20 minutes. Maybe then they go to groups. They drop a few games. They lose to, let's say, NALCS. But bam, they make it to quarterfinals as the second seed from their group.
Yep.
They 3-2 all the way to finals. And who's going to win finals? They win finals. Hysterics, that's who.
This is optimism.
This is story time with Lyric.
I mean, this could be as bad as me saying LGD are going to win Worlds.
That was the worst.
No, that was not the worst.
That was the worst I've heard.
Hey, they still got another chance.
Yes, they do.
I could be right.
Which will be tomorrow, if you're wondering. The winner of this match will play LGD tomorrow.
Do you still think IG are going to win Worlds?
Let's not say that. These are new viewers. They don't know I made that prediction yet.
Oh, that's true.
As the Shy has Mega. He has Flash, as you have pointed out already.
And they're in a choke. Chris has been spotted out over the wall. He flashes in for the Zenith Blade. Here comes the hero's entrance from Doomby. Only onto one. It is Baolan as Puff's ulti layers down the sky. Puff into the Pop Blossom, excuse me. They need to change that on spectator motors. Doomby's out with the Justice Punch. Chris runs on in. This is an absolute fiasco as into the ulti set up by Tien. Gives a bit of healing, but I think IG are winning this fight. Definitely at 32 minutes, feels like they've scaled into the Shy, jumps in over the wall. Tien is getting out as well as Chris just gets flashed on. Ning's there too. Doomby doesn't want to touch this with a 6-foot pole. And IG win another one.
And honestly, this game, I'm surprised they're not just going to go tank mid lane turn and try to end. They don't have a wave, but 40-second death timers
Ning,
on
where you
Tien.
go? He's holding mid wave while the rest of IG set up for Baron.
That came out of absolutely nowhere. We saw the Shy actually posturing to jump in and look for a nice ult. You pointed out they were in a choke. But Crisp actually is starting to flash forward, find the engage. They try to get the burst down, but as we've seen with every fight, if IG are able to kite it out, they do have so many slows. Frozen out on the Shy. We've already pointed out the Glacial Augments on both mid and AD carry. They do have enough damage to win out in these extended trades. And then nice re-engage coming out from the side of IG to keep it going. Balan might be 0-8, but he's one of the ones leading the charge.
He is. He's hitting more and more. What is the bloody thing called?
Dredge
line, yeah, as we get throughout the series.
You know, I think we used to question if like the 0-7, the 0-8 power spike was just the Shy's. But it feels like that's just the IG power spike in general.
Yeah, that's true. And SOFM, as we found out.
Yeah. SOFM's Lee Sin specifically becomes a monster once he gets 7 deaths.
Okay, Soul in the making. Now, can IG end this game? We have to find out.
I was gonna say, I'm not the one to answer that question.
If we said top esports strategy, what's that best of 5 in the summer final? Then we said watch this and compare. You'd say, well, it's not up there, but at least we're getting entertaining League of Legends.
It's up there in another way. Is what I was
Yes,
gonna say.
is.
We saw the Twin Shadows coming out from Rookie. He does have Leandries now as well, so gonna have that increased damage. He has so many ways of, slowing people and disabling them on the enemy team to get that 1% increase.
Are you ready? This is Rookie in the brush. Crisp has been very full throttle. 1 in 3, he has the least deaths, and he's the person that goes in the most. It's impressive.
Chris has had a very good game.
Yep.
IG need to be careful because of, as we've seen, the side of FPX just has so many engage tools, so I like how the Shy's playing back.
Oh, Gimgoon's flashed in. Dominus time sets up Rookie here with the hero's entrance. Gets a knock up onto Puff in the backline. Dawning. Darkness does nothing. And down goes another IG member. And just like that, we flip the script back.
Yeah, great engage coming out once again. Gimgoon is having such a good series today. He's the one finding a lot of these windows. The Shy wasn't there. It looked like they were doing a good job of teetering between both sides. We saw in mid lane they back off when the Shy was backing off and vice versa. But still, FPX go forward. They find the right engage, and they're pushing for an inhibitor themselves.
All right, 45 kills in this 35-minute game. Let's see if FPX can now lead the charge. That's what I'm going to call it. Gimgoon goes in. Oh, collateral damage clears the way. Rookie's coming in for a bit of a flank. Tangle Barb's used while the Shy absorbs the damage. Now, this level 18 has 4 items and is pretty strong, so he can go forward onto LWX. Doesn't really care. Lamb's Respite used very early as IG are 3v5ing. FPX are so low, you know they're going forward. And Jenicus Arrow with the smoke screen to get the slow. Solar Flare gets them down while IG don't have any TPs available. The Shy could TP into that control water, just saying.
Hey, they can just keep running forward and pressure for an inhibitor.
Oh my god! Collateral damage gets the kill. LWX is 50 seconds from coming up and Crisp is dead. Is this how they win the game?
Yeah, I think so. 50-second death timers. Guess what? Puff and Battleland are already here, Hysterics.
Oh my god, this series is going to deliver in more ways than one. Tien being chased without an ulti. Rookie's going to take care of him while the rest of IG run it down mid. Here's the Pop Blossom. Tien's dead. Doomby with the ulti. It's not over because Gimgoon wants to defend for his life. As IG need this win in the series, we're going to go to 1-1. Somehow, someway, 51 kills later with an ace across FPX, Invictus Gaming have done it. But this series is far from over.
And this game was the story of a mid laner and his jungler. Because let's be honest, Ning and Rookie did so much work in the mid game, early on picking up a lot of those kills, setting up a lot of these skirmishes, and then ending it. Ending it in the most baller way possible with that ultimate coming out from Ning.
And this is the day I thank myself that I'm not on the analyst desk to go through that one. Woo! Well.
Even the Shy, though, in that last siege coming out from FPX, we saw a great job by Ning using his ultimate to clear the wave, Rookie as well, dishing out all that damage on the Renekton. But then the Shy, kiting, walking forward, not exactly kiting since, you know, he's going forward, but still, when he hopped, it looked like he was going in, so he got LWX's flash. And then they just keep going. They got all of them low. The ultimate CD is so low for Ning at that point, it comes up again in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Bursts someone down. And this was a game.
This was a game, wasn't it? And you wouldn't think, but these guys are fighting for the 4th seed at Worlds. They're just fighting to fight again in another best of 5. And let's all remind everyone that IG in 2019 summer were not expected to make Worlds. But what they did was 3-2 JDG. It was a hell of a series. And then did it again. So the regional buffs start here at the very least.
Hey,
they're going to do it a couple more times.
If you were here with Story Time for Lyric about 16 minutes and 30 seconds ago, you heard this goes to 5 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, that was how many minutes ago?
16 minutes and 47 seconds.
That's right. That was a very long time ago. This was a 38-minute game.
And as you pointed out, so many more kills than there were minutes. We actually got up to 51. And I liked the adaptation in draft this time from IG. It looked much better. I liked that FPX also stayed consistent with what they were going